What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation expert, money mindset and fulfillment coach, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur. Come sit with me while I spill the real tea on what it's like to practice using intentional manifestation, demystify all of the woo-woo and confusing bullshit that comes along with creating the life of your dreams, and give you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, spiritual, and professional growth journey. The goal of this podcast is to support and guide you towards manifesting all of your dreams, shed light on the things that people are too scared to talk about, and encourage you to become the person who gets to have it all, be it all, and do it all. I am so happy you are here. Let's fucking do this thing. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I am so excited for y'all to listen to this episode today. I've brought on a past client and now a soul sister onto the podcast today to share her story of how she has used intentional manifestation to completely change her life. And it's super, super powerful listening to this story because when I first met today's guest, her name is Sae-Young, she was in her own personal rock bottom moment and was in the position where she knew things needed to change in her life. She had tried using manifestation on her own for a really long time and got to the position of just being like, fuck, I need help. And that's when I first met Sae, and she became a part of my manifestation program, the Abundant AF Babe Academy, ABA. And what this woman has done in just a matter of months, going from her own personal rock bottom to now living out her dreams and living a life that she never thought was possible for herself, is the most incredible thing to see, and also just so incredibly fulfilling and rewarding for me to see all of the things that she has done, the power that she has brought out of not only the Abundant AF Babe Academy, but all areas of her life, and truly stepped into this position where she is now making an impact on the world and helping other people create radical, massive change in their lives through her platforms and all that she creates. So today's guest, her name is Sae-Young. She is a body confident plus size Korean model in the New Jersey and New York area that is defying all odds in the modeling and fashion industry. She is a body acceptance advocate and empowers people to live life with confidence. She went from the position of hating her body, constantly attracting toxic relationships and jobs, and never having enough money. And through the past 6 months, she has quantum leaped into her dream life in that short amount of time. And it's just the beginning for her, and she's been documenting her entire journey on social media for others to see and to really prove what is possible when you put yourself first and develop a relationship with yourself that is so irresistibly magnetic. And like I've been saying, just been such an honor to watch Sae's journey, to be a part of Sae's journey, to be able to help guide her and watch her flourish in the position that she's in now, because like I just said, it's only been 6 months since she really, really went in on this journey. And what you'll hear on this podcast episode is we talk about the fact that she is on this 12-month experiment right now where she is really stepping into this position of being in a place of power in her life and giving herself 1 full year to see what could happen. And just a short amount of time into that, with getting guidance and within really digging into the inner work for herself and putting her faith and trust into herself and into the universe, she has completely transformed her life and is now living out her dreams. So without further ado, I hope y'all enjoy this episode with Miss Sae-Young. Alrighty, loves, welcome back to another episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. Today's show is so fucking special to me because I have one of my past students and soul sisters, Miss Sae-Young, coming on to the podcast today because This chick right here has transformed her life in such a short amount of time using the power of intentional manifestation. And she inspires me beyond belief. So I wanted to bring her onto the show to have her story and all of her wisdoms inspire all of you. So, Miss Sae, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, everyone. So glad to be here and share my story. I hope this inspires you all. I hope you get something out of this. So, yay.
So let's kick this thing off. We're going to be talking about Sae right now is on a 12-month experiment of using intentional manifestation in her life and seeing how it goes. And this experiment has been fucking incredible so far. I'm still excited to see what's to come in the last few months of it. But Sae, I would love for you to share with us what led you to this point. What were the things that happened in your life that led you to the position of being like, okay, this is what I'm choosing to do?
So my experiment started June 1st of 2021. So that's when it started. But before that, I was at a job that I was not really like satisfied with. And before that job, I was at a very toxic job that I talk about this in a lot of other podcasts, but it was infamous for making me at a point where I really just started to question my entire life's purpose. I started getting very like existential. I had like crises and I was depressed. I was anxious. And like when I lost my dog while I was at that job, it was basically like a closet with no windows. And I was there trying to achieve some kind of dream. And I lost something that I love so dearly to myself. And I remember making the promise, like, I'm not going to put work in front of something that I love, you know? So I made that promise to myself. That was in 2020. And that's when I quit that job and got into the job. And I was working as a like front desk person after the one in New York City that I was just talking about. But then I found myself yet again at the same position. And this is when I was actually working with Kat and in her group program. So while I was meeting with the ladies weekly and being in this discussion about law of attraction, manifestation, and realizing that I can have everything I want, I can manifest my entire dream life. Like, why do I think I'm so not worthy? The environment in that workplace, I started to kind of detach from it because before I was just like kind of molding in, like suppressing my joy, all of that stuff. So that's when I quit my job. And it's a little more complicated than that. But basically, I kind of put my foot down, I quit my job, and I said, okay, you know what? I am going to go on a 1 month experiment and I'm not going to settle for anything less than I command. And I'm going to believe that my success is 100% inevitable. I'm going to develop new core values. I am going to just break these generational traumas and curses, and I'm just going to go for it. And this was in the middle of while I was working with Kat as well. So that is what happened. And the 12-month experiment, which ends in June of 2022. So I have about like 6.5, maybe like 5 months left. And yeah, I mean, we'll get into it, but I have changed so much. I don't even know if I can list all of the things that I've manifested where I am now, but that is really where I was. I was at a very dark place. And I knew that I had to allow massive transformation to come in.
It's so powerful. Something that really stood out to me as you were talking about like where you were at leading up to this experiment was all based around like worthiness and like, am I worthy to have the things that I want? And starting to realize, yes, you are. And you're totally on that path now. What were some of the things that you recognized from your past that developed that feeling and that belief of I'm not worthy and I can't have what I want?
So I'm Asian American, and in the Asian culture, there's this societal standard that you have to excel in school. and that you have to be the smartest in class and you have to get into a good college. You have to be an engineer, a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, whatnot. And I did not follow any of that, slash, I never, ever was up to that standard. In fact, I was the exact opposite. um, and because I wasn't of that standard, my parents are also extremely strict. So I had a very tumultuous relationship with them. So my idea of self-worth my entire life was actually so low, probably non-existent. But I was unconscious of that my entire life. I also didn't know that, because if there's a person with such a small percentage of self-worth, they're not even going to know what self-worth really feels like. So a lot of it was from my parents, and like I believe it's generational as well, both from my mom and father's side. And also not being able to like achieve much in my life at all, because I was constantly failing in school, or like I struggled with English, I struggled with math, etc. I wasn't taught to achieve great things, and I didn't build up those habits, so I didn't know what it felt like to excel. Whereas all of my other friends, they were constantly winning competitions. They were always in multiple sports. They were getting into Ivy Leagues, etc. So yeah, there was a lot of comparison as well, and like resentment. So I think the low self-worth definitely comes from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which, for anybody who would see you now on social media platforms, I can imagine they would be like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, yeah, that's a huge change, because you're literally over there showing everybody how to love themselves, love their bodies, stand in their confidence, stand in their powers.
I think another thing to add to that is like, because I had such low self-esteem, self-worth, the fact that this is what I want to do for a living now, like create content creation around self-love, body confidence, all of that, it just proves to show that truly anyone can build up to that point. If I can do it, then people listening to this, of course, you can do it too.
I love what you just said. So getting from that place of like little to no self-worth to where you're at right now, what have been some of the big internal changes that have helped you get to who you are and where you are today?
Ooh, so many, so many. But if I would have to narrow it down to like two or three, self love and self seduction. So, seducing myself, showing myself my own love language, realizing what I like and don't like, incredibly important, because I was constantly a people pleaser. I was always a yes, ma'am, like yes, ma'am to work, to authorities at work, to my friends, to anyone older than me. I was also like the youngest always in every circle that I was in. So I always had this like weird relationship with hierarchy. Also coming from like an Asian household, that was like a huge thing too. So yeah, like self-love, self-seduction. Number two is actually dealing with a little bit more on the physical side, but working out and doing it out of love for myself and not hate. And the health part, like wellness in my life, is such a big part of my success. And I don't mean being the most fit looking body I've ever had, not in that point of view, but rather, what am I doing for myself on the daily that has to contribute to my health? Because if there's one thing I've learned throughout this entire experiment, it's your health is truly your wealth, because you are filling your cup up first so that it overflows to other people. And then you're able to provide other people with love, with good energy, good vibrations. Yeah, and you're just like that energy. I get DMs every single day being like, girl, your energy, it just radiates. And I'm like, yep, it's because I took care of myself first, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I think those two things for sure.
So good. So good. It's so beautiful. Something that I know you've probably heard me say 1,000 times, and I will continue to say over and over again, is that like we are truly the most important people in our lives. And that like it's so beautiful hearing your story of stepping into that energy of like, I am the most important person in my life, because now you're on this path of helping other people and making that impact in their lives to help them love themselves. So going back to the experiment, give us like the overview of the experiment. Like, what are the quote unquote rules, if there's rules, and like, what does the structure of it look like?
Okay, so I made this 12-month experiment by, actually, the idea is not original. It's from Manifestation Babe, Catherine Zinkina. And after listening to her episode of the podcast, I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm on it. And I think it was during that time period that I came across that podcast, was the week in your group program where we were talking about reestablishing what you do believe in. And I was like, all right, I'm going to make 5 of them and I'm going to repeat them to myself like every day as if it's my Bible. So number 1 core pillar is I'm always on the path to success. Like my success is inevitable. No matter what, even if I take a 1-month break, whatever, I'm just going to believe, get delusional that I'm successful. Number 2, I am not going to measure myself by my results, nor do I measure myself by my failures. I am good. I am inherently worthy. I was worthy before the womb as it is. Number 3 was I was going to put joy over hard work and hustling. Again, like that Asian household, it was like hustle, 50, 70 hours a week. That's how you get money. No, I said, I'm going to put joy first and the money is going to come to me because money is attracted to joy. So yeah. Number 4, I'm a trailblazer in my family and community. And that has a lot to do with my presence on social media, the way I wanted to impact people. And I really wanted to be the trailblazer, the generational leader. And number 5 is my life is full of miracles and I allow miracle after miracle to appear into my life, meaning that like I'm receptive to all of the blessings that can come to me. And like, I'm just a magnet, like that attracts all these manifestations, all these miracles. And I'm just going to be this like goddess that transforms. So those are the 5 core pillars that I believed in. I put them as my phone background. I printed them out, taped them up all over my room like a crazy person. And my boyfriend would come into my room in the mornings while I'm like journaling and scripting. He would be like, cuckoo. Like, woo woo. Like, what happened to you, because I was not like that before. Like I was so negative. I was self-deprecating and like we had such a toxic relationship. And then all of a sudden, like I'm just pouring out this radiating energy because I'm working on my mindset. I was healing. I was like being so good to myself. And yeah, those are my 5 pillars.
God, they're so good. As you were saying that, I just felt so much energy inside of my body and like knowing the difference in what I can imagine what it was like to be in those self-deprecating thoughts and behaviors and emotions and all of the different things, because I've definitely been there too, to stepping into that radiating energy, that goddess-like energy. So since starting the experiment, give us like the raw, real, nitty gritty, like what's been one of the most challenging things that you've experienced since starting it?
Hands down, being patient.
Ooh.
Being fucking, can we curse?
Yeah, we can fucking curse. Okay. This is the No Bullshit Manifestation Show, girl.
Okay, being fucking patient because the universe works in its own timing and it knows when and where, how, what, etc. And for me, I am a control freak. And I'm proud to admit that, because I have that tendency, but I said, like I really stepped into my feminine and I really think that's where the self-love came from, etc. But yeah, I really had to let that like controlling energy go and kind of pivot that into the things that I actually could control, meaning what are the 5 top things I'm doing every day that are helping me get to my goals, However, man, if I could turn my scripting journal and my regular journal into a book and just tell you guys that the things that happened when they did happen was the perfect timing. And I wouldn't have had it any other way, because those things that manifested while I was being patient lead to even bigger manifestations. It's just like something that tumbles into something greater and greater and greater. For example, I became a plus size model in October, right? And if I wasn't patient about that, then I wouldn't have booked 3 jobs the month after that I was signed, then I wouldn't have achieved 30K on TikTok, etc. So yeah, I'm just so glad that they did happen in the times that they did. And it's only been 6 months. How much more is going to happen in the next 6 months?
Girl, for real. Like, it's only been 6 months since you started this experiment. And that's always been one of the things since being a part of your journey that has blown me away, because I know that things shift quickly when you're willing to shift and when you put yourself fully into the inner work, the healing work, being intentional, all of the different things that we've been talking about. But like, you have fucking transformed your life in less than 6 months. So going back to that patience piece, for somebody who's listening that is like, yep, I'm the control freak as well, I have no fucking patience, what could be some words of wisdom to that person?
Enjoy the journey. And I know everybody and their mother says this, everyone says it, but truly, the journey is the best part. In fact, I wouldn't have had it any other way. But the journey is where you're going to have that relationship with yourself. And when you develop that foundational relationship with yourself, you can go through anything. And you're just going to have this crazy ass confidence. You're going to feel so empowered because you have that relationship with yourself during that patience period. You're going to be learning about yourself and treat it as though like you're the main character. And it's just about time that things are going to fall into your life, because you're the main character. You're the creative director. You're everything in your own life. It's just a matter of time that's going to happen. Keep affirming that to yourself. Find new ways of like one of my favorite things has been finding new hobbies, because like I said before the 12-month experiment, I didn't know what I liked and I didn't like. Like, people would ask me, what's your favorite hobby? And I'd be like, watching TV. Is that a hobby? And one of my favorite things now is like finding new things that I love doing. Like, just romanticize it, romanticize the fuck out of it, and know that you have this one life, whatever you do believe in, but I believe right now you have this one life with the body that you were assigned to. Why not make the most of it every day while you're being patient?
Love it. So freaking true. I don't know. It's almost like a societal belief slash perception of like always trying to get to the end destination, like checking the boxes, making sure everything lines up perfectly so that once you get to this place, you're supposed to be happy, you're supposed to be fulfilled, you're supposed to be all of the things. And I know you shared with me from your experiences, like you check those different boxes and you're like, fuck this. And I checked all the boxes and I was like, fuck this. And really being in the position of what you just said, it's like the journey is the destination. And as you are in that energy, I know, is like, it's so powerful for manifestation because you're detaching from actually having to be at that end result to feel good, which just speeds up the entire manifestation process. And it sounds like you found some really fun, playful ways to get there, which also ties into what you said about like the feminine energy. So for our listeners, can you describe like your process of being in the feminine, or like the way that you embrace your feminine and allow yourself to lead with it?
This is so important because for such a large part of my life, I was very much in my toxic masculine, in my wounded masculine. And for people that are listening, anyone can have masculine, feminine energy. It's not just a thing that has to deal with your gender, your sex, or whatnot. I just learned that masculine, like wounded masculine energy that was like, I believe, generationally brought down to me. And any relationship that I was in, I would dominate the guy. and it would not turn out pretty at all. So when I got into this journey, I said, well, there must be a reason why I'm not receiving what I want to receive. It's because I'm being this controlling, masculine, like wounded masculine person. And so I want to change that as well. And with showing myself self love, like I remember after I quit my job, I went on a 1 day beach trip by myself, and I booked a hotel that I really wanted to stay at. And I booked a reservation to like a beachside restaurant that was the nicest restaurant there. And I was just in the ocean riding the waves. And I was like, I'm going to get a free drink today. Yeah, just because I deserve it. And I was like soaking up the sun. Then I go to the restaurant, and my waitress, like, there's basically no one there because it's during the day and everybody's at work. And the waitress comes and she's like, I accidentally poured this glass of champagne. So here you go. And I was like, cha-ching. And it's just a matter of like you letting go of those tendencies that you might have had to receive even more. And that's also a form of self-love, you know? There's just so many ways to step into the feminine. And I think that's the beautiful thing. It's that everyone is going to have a different way that they resonate with. For me, it's allowing myself to receive, allowing myself to be creative, even in the mundane tasks like cleaning or whatnot. It could also be physical too, you know, like wearing that jewelry that you just love. At home, I used to wear baggy clothes all the time, which who doesn't love baggy clothes? I still love baggy clothes, no hate. But to see my figure is something that I really hated before, but I wanted to fall in love with it. So now I wear like tight clothes that accentuates my figure. And I constantly say affirmations to it, even if I'm not feeling it necessarily. But it's because I know that I'm feeding myself that, and it's going to show me and repay me later. So, yeah, those are some of my favorite ways.
Oh, I love it so, so much. Because watching your journey and being a part of your journey, it's like you can feel, you can sense this powerful feminine essence that just like emanates out of you now, as opposed to like when we first met each other, is very much so like, what's the itinerary? What's the game plan? Let's go. And stepping into this now, it's like, oh my gosh, all of this receptive energy. And not saying that like with that either, it's not incredibly powerful, because it so, so, so is. And it also just feels so much more like home
Mhm.
for a lot of women and for a lot of men as well who are in their feminine. So one of the questions I've always been curious about and I've wanted to ask you is like, what are the things that you do on a daily basis to bring yourself back to the fact that you're on this experiment and that this is like the life that you are paving for yourself?
Mm, I would have to say my morning routine. And I wanted to create some type of content surrounding my morning routine very soon, anyways. But it's basically like whenever we wake up in the morning, I'm sure most of us, we check our email, any notifications that came, texts, etc. But to remind myself that I am on this 12-month experiment, I don't really check my phone. I'll like do what I need to do, get some water, some coffee, and I'll turn on music that makes me feel into the feminine. And I will look at my vision board right here behind where I'm sitting, and I'll just like graze my eyes against it. And then I'll script and meditate. And that usually takes like 20 minutes on a fast day. And sometimes it'll take like an hour. It depends on however I feel. But I try to do that every morning because I just know that if I don't do something intentional right when I wake up, I'm going to live like the rest of the day, probably like doing stuff for my career because I'm so career focused right now. And yeah, that's just something I'm going through right now with my career that I'm really trying to jumpstart. And although that's also a form of self love, like working on your career, being ambitious, setting that tone in the morning, remembering, like, listen, these are things that you commanded to yourself. Let's honor that. Yeah, that morning routine, chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss to what you just said too, of like, these are the promises you made to yourself. This is what you commanded to yourself, and you're gonna honor that. And like in a way of like, I'm honoring this because I love myself and I trust myself. And that truly builds so much self-trust. One of the biggest things that I hear with the women that I work with and the women that come into my circle is like, how do I trust myself? And especially when we're in our feminine energy, because I'd say, especially us as women, we're taught not to trust ourselves. We're taught not to trust our femininity. We're taught to only trust in the masculine a lot of the time. And you honoring those different things is such a way to build that self-trust and bring yourself back home to yourself and feel comfortable in that place of trust and knowing with yourself, setting yourself up that way every single day. So I absolutely love that you do that. And for anybody who is curious about like what your career path is and what you do, because I think it's so beautiful, can you share with us like what does that look like for you right now, working on and building your career?
Oh my gosh. So if there's one thing you have to know about me is that I'll always be working on several things at the same time because I'm a multi-passionate person and I've just started embracing that. I'm like, yeah, this is me, this is who I am, and I'm better this way. So first things first, I am a plus size model in New York City. So my intention for that is to be a trailblazer and show that plus size women don't have to look like the typical way that men want us to look, or what we see on media all the time. It comes in all different forms, shapes, and sizes. And I don't really fit the standard, but I want to model and expose myself to the world so that other women can look at me and be like, wow, like if she is perceived as beautiful, then like I can too. So that's one of my main things in my career. And the second thing is that I am a TikTok content creator now. I think I can officially say that. I had a quantum leap this month and I jumped to around 29 to 30,000 followers. And I genuinely love creating content that empowers all people to feel confident and love their bodies and live every day with so much confidence. Like it warms my heart like nothing else. And through that, I'm also working on something really exciting, really just like this is my baby, I think. And it's going to be a one-on-one mentorship with me. And I'm not going to reveal anything else because I do want people to hear it from me and like I want to have a conversation with them. But it's going to be an extremely transformative program, an extremely transformative mentorship. And I just can't wait to share more details because there's going to be so many. Like, if you thought this podcast was good with all of the tidbits and the tips that I gave, just wait until my mentorship. So that's one of the things I'm working on as well. And I just can't wait to make even more of an impact on the individual level because that's really how we're going to change the world, right? Like it's planting one seed at a time that's going to flourish. And then that seed is going to plant another one that's going to flourish as well. And yeah, I'm just so excited.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it. I love seeing you light up as you talk about it. Can you imagine, like, if you were to tell, say, this time last year that this is what your life would look like, what do you
Huh.
think you would have thought?
Oh, I would have been like, you're shitting me right now. This is not real. This is not real. I remember, where was I in January 2022? I'm sorry, 2021. I was in a better place than the previous years, but still, I don't know. I just like, I had no hope for myself. And if I could just go back and tell her, like, you're doing the best you can, you're doing amazing, you're doing great, just keep it up, then I would. And I do sometimes. But yeah, it's just 6 months. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. And it can also go by quickly. Like those both can exist at the same time. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, but that can't be me, like I have a different situation. That's so not true. It's whatever you claim for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to think about that with myself of like,
Mhm.
Holy shit. Me 3 years ago at this time would have been like, bitch, no way. Like, absolutely not. You're not living that life. And knowing that, like, just like you said, it's like 6 months can feel like a long time, but 6 months is also such a short amount of time. And to know that you've come this far into the experiment and you still have that amount of time to go, like, I'm so excited to see what is going to transform and happen over the next 6 months in your life. So, last question I have for you, and for anybody who has resonated with you, with your story, with wanting to transform their life and see things in a different way and do things in a different way, what's like one of the most important pieces of advice you could give to them?
Mm. You're worthy of taking that leap for yourself. And I think a lot of the reason why people don't think that they can transform their lives, that they can't manifest their dream reality, that they can't have that significant other is because they think that they're not worthy of that transformation. But this also changed the game for me for manifestation. It's like manifestation is not becoming that version of yourself that has it all because you think you're not worthy of it and you have to work really hard for it. It's remembering that you are inherently worthy from the beginning of time. Since you were born into this earth, it's just that naturally society and your parents and generational trauma have made an impact on you. So you have all of these limiting beliefs or beliefs that make you live life a certain way. So it's remembering where you came from originally and what you're worthy of from the beginning. So knowing that you are worthy from the beginning. And if you can imagine it, there is a version of you out there that already has it. What would you go after? And why not today? Why not in the next 6 months? Why not in the next 12 months? If I was in a position that I was so hopeless, so desperate in June of 2021, and now I'm here, what can you do in the next 6 months? So if you start now, that'll be June. That'll come quickly with all the holidays, the birthdays, etc. And just know that you are worthy of taking that chance on yourself. So anything you've ever dreamed of, whether it be money, providing for your family, all of that stuff, go for it. Go for it. I believe in you.
Oh, full body chills as you say that. Because it's like we have nothing to lose. Literally nothing to lose. I remember first conversation that you and I had, we both said that. It was like rock bottom moment, looking at it and being like, fuck, if I don't change anything, I'm still here. I'm still in worst case scenario. So I have absolutely nothing to lose by doing this. And you are absolute evidence of the fact that that is true. So Sae, thank you so much for coming onto the show, sharing all of your wisdoms, sharing your goddess energy with us. Where can everybody find you and be a part of everything that you have to offer?
You can find me on Instagram at Generation Sae, Generation SAE, and also TikTok. If you like TikTok, yeah, find me there. I get a little risque. I do also some fashion content as well. Those are the main two platforms that I use now. And I also have my own podcast called This Is Your Sign Podcast with your host, Sae-Young Bak, which is linked in my bio on both Instagram and TikTok. So you can find me there. It was such a freaking pleasure, as always, to be here with you, Kat. And I just know your audience, what they're listening to is pure liquid gold. Every single episode, I'm like the first one to listen to it. Well, maybe, I don't know. But I love it so much. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have had it any other way with any other coach. And yeah, such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Yeah. And everything that Sae just mentioned is going to be linked down below in the show notes. So go give this girl a fucking follow. I literally get on TikTok to post my own videos. I don't scroll except for like really looking for Sae's videos because they give me life. So Make sure you are getting all up in her vibes. And thank you for all of the beautiful words on your journey and me being a part of them. So, so grateful for you as well.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I am so grateful to have these no bullshit talks with you. If you enjoyed today's episode or the podcast as a whole, please spread the love by leaving me a review on iTunes or sharing the podcast with others. This is how I will be able to spread more of these good vibes and be able to make more of an impact on the lives of others. And if you're not already part of all of the goodness and communities that I have to offer, check out the show notes. I have links to the different ways that I can support you on your manifestation journey and help you live a life full of more money, fulfillment, and freedom. But that is all for now. So big love and hugs, and I will chat with you soon, babe.